G'day legends, Blake here with another video, and today we're braving the bitterly cold Victorian winter for a good reason. I want to show you these two products today, which I think in combination can be a really effective way to get a beautiful, functional and effective pond into any house, whether you're renting or owning. It's something that can be brought inside in winter and I think has a huge amount of use cases. So without any further ado, let's jump straight into the video. Okay, so first and foremost, before I go any further into this video, I do like to let you know up front that I was provided these products free of charge. However, there's no script, there's no obligation to say anything positive about them. And in actual fact, I reached out to Aquascape Supplies Australia in this instance because I really like their work and I've been a big fan of Greg Whitstock and Aquascape in America for a long time. Since now owning my own house, I have been interested in following Aquascape Australia, I think for obvious reasons. But at this point in time, I opted for a kit like this because I think having just recently come out of the rental market, there's a huge demand for stuff like this where, you know, even in Victoria where I live, it gets quite cold in winter, so not a lot of fish species are able to survive outside. So having a pond that you have dug into the ground, it does kind of limit your options a little bit, whereas something like this can even be brought inside in winter if you wish. The other really effective thing about this product, I think, is that essentially it is an all-in-one aquaponics system. Now, with cost of living on the rise and a head of lettuce costing upwards of 10 Australian dollars each, something like this can really effectively grow a lot of vegetables hydroponically. So tomatoes, lettuce especially, chilies, anything like that is going to go really well. And in my plans for setting this up today, I've got a bit of a edible option as well that I'm going to put into my own. I think the plant light here provides a really sleek and beautiful option, especially if you are going to bring it indoors during winter. And it's going to prolong the amount of light exposure to those plants, especially during the winter months where there's just less daylight hours. The other thing that I have to admit is this is the second time filming this video. I had a lot of audio issues the first time around when I actually set it up inside the fish room. It was raining that day, so that's why I set it up inside, but although it's pretty windy today, it's not raining, so I figured we can do it outside today. And at least it'll give you a bit of contrast between how you view this pond. But overall, I've found it to be really simple, really easy to set up, and it's a really high quality product, I believe. So since I have already set it up, well, I think we should stop looking at the boxes, although they are beautiful, and let's just go ahead and show you what I ended up setting up. Okay, so here's my completed Aquascape mini pond. I'll show you over the top though how I went about the unboxing and what you can expect as it arrives on your door. That is another great point as well. I think that you can order it online, and in this instance, Aquascape have provided a 10% discount code. So if you were interested in picking this up, you can use the code Blake10 to get 10% off, which I think is really generous of them. So I like that you can have this arrive to your door and you can set it up in a matter of minutes. So when the box first arrives, there's going to be two main items that are going to be inside that box. And in the future, I think they're going to be bringing out new and exciting colors. But for now, I've got the brown version, which I think is still really beautiful. So there's going to be the main bowl and then the spillway or the waterfall attachment, which lifts out really, really simply. As well as that, you're going to find some cables, and those are going to go to the pump. And also there's an LED light that runs underneath the spillway right here, which is going to be really fantastic at night time, and you'll get a really beautiful view of your fish, especially if you're entertaining, things like that. It's, you know, I think that's a really smart idea. That part comes all installed and ready to go, so there's nothing to do about that. The other great thing that I really like is at the rear of the spillway, there are some indentations for you to run your cables nice and neatly through. So for the cable for the pump and the LED, they run back at the rear of the pond here, and you'll never even know that they're there. The pump, again, was really, really simple. It just screwed in to the underside of the spillway. The only thing to note with that is it does have to be oriented in a certain direction so that it will fit. But the good thing about that is if it's not in the right direction, the spillway just won't sit flush with the bowl. So it's pretty obvious if you're setting it up correctly or not. I really like that the intake pump has a pre-filter sponge on it as well, so it's not going to suck up your baby fish or, you know, make a mess of your pond. So I like that idea quite a lot. Outside of that, the pond comes with 3 different types of gravel or media. You get some large river pebbles, which people mostly tend to use in the base of the main pond. And then you get some clay beads, some hydroponic clay beads, which is going to be great for growing all your plants and that. And that's what I put underneath the spillway. And then you get some black river pebbles, which are decorative, and I use those to cap the clay beads. Now, all of these, of course, are optional. You can change them out for whatever you like, but do keep in mind that if you use the clay beads in the top, they will float unless you do cap them or soak them for a period of time. So if you're choosing to not cap the hydroponic clay beads, then make sure you just soak them for a period of time, a couple of days until they all sink. You should be fine after that. In terms of the light is an 8-watt light with 12 LEDs, and it really seamlessly slots in to the rear of the pond. So there is a little plug that comes with it in case you don't get the light. You just simply pull out that plug and then the light, and it slots perfectly in, and it's sturdy as, and it's not going anywhere, even on a windy day like today. If you are keeping the pond outside though, I'd probably recommend keeping the light off and only using it at the times that you're actually going to need it on, just because it's going to wear and degrade in the weather. So although it is durable and metal, I wouldn't recommend keeping it outdoors over the long term. With that in mind, since this is an outdoor product that does use electricity, I definitely recommend using caution and safety when plugging in these items. Make sure you use an outdoor power source, outdoor cables, and make sure that they're up off the ground so they're not going to be sitting in water. Anything that you can do to really limit the amount of risk in that area is going to, something that I'd recommend. So when it comes to planting the waterfall, it was really simple. I'd recommend put the hydroponic beads in first and don't put the capping layer on, so that you can move around your plant roots and plant them in, and then place the capping layer on afterwards so that they don't all mix around. What I've used in planting mine here is I've got a cyclamen, which is this plant with the white flowers here, which I think should work, but it's always a bit of an experiment with these sorts of things, and I would recommend playing around with whatever you like. I've got a couple of philodendrons here, different types. So this one here looks more like your traditional pothos, but again, it's going to be a really beautiful vining plant, and I want it to sort of go all the way around the outside of the pond eventually. And then this philodendron here looks more like, sort of an elephant ear shape. I thought that was a great look for a pond like this. As well as that, I do have an actual elephant ear in a gravel pot, which I picked up from my local hardware store. And I would recommend, if you do have access to pond plants in pots like this, then make sure that you keep the gravel wet. And that's going to really help to kickstart the bacteria within the pond, because as this plant has been sitting at the hardware store submerged in water, presuming that it is dechlorinated water, it's basically going to be starting our cycle straight away. So as long as we don't let it dry out from getting it home, the bacteria should be well and truly alive in there, and we should be pretty much ready to start filling it up with livestock immediately. It is a bit of a risk, so have a backup plan, but for me, that's what I'm going to go ahead with in this instance. However, if your plants have come in traditional potting soil like my cyclamen and philodendrons did, then it's really simple to prepare them to place in a system like this. Just take them out of the soil, give the roots a good rinse, and then they're ready to go. The cleaner the better, because it's just going to end up in the pond if not. I've tried these in both aquariums and ponds, and I've never found it to be an issue after just a simple rinse. And then in the back corner, I did want to showcase the option to put some edible plants in here as well. I really wanted a chili plant, but it's out of season at the moment, so I put a strawberry plant in there. And in my mind, anything that's going to be sort of a juicier fruit like a strawberry or a chili is really going to benefit from the available water source in a system like this. So I'm really excited to get my very first strawberries out of this aquaponics system essentially. So that's pretty much how easy it is to set up. Just make sure that you rinse all the gravels out, and it's pretty foolproof and up and ready to go in a matter of minutes. And like this, with a couple of plants from a hardware store, it can look great immediately. So I'm going to fill this up now, fill this back up and get it running again. And then I'm going to talk about what I'm going to stock it with. So it started to rain, which meant that I moved undercover, but just put some dechlorinator in as you fill it up. And then I'm also quite into these at the moment as well. These are pure Aquarium bowls, and they're just some nitrifying bacteria in a bowl. So put some bacteria in as well. Now typically I wouldn't suggest stocking it with fish in the middle of winter, but in my case I have ponds already established, and these fish here that I'll be putting in there have already been outside through winter for generations. So these, I've got some rice fish here, which are a perfect outdoor stocking for a climate like mine, a pond like this to keep outdoors over winter. So anything else, you're probably really going to want to bring it indoors. But for now, I'm going to float this in here, let them acclimate to the difference in temperature, and eventually get them in there and we can take a bit of a look. So there you go guys, I'm back in the fish room defrosting now, but it was a really fun project to set up this Aquascape mini pond, and yeah, hopefully you really liked it. If you do, again, you can use my code Blake10 for 10% off. But whether you set up an Aquascape mini pond or not, I'd really encourage you to consider setting up a pond for this summer period, or whatever period of time it is around the world where you are. It's a really fun process and opens up another world of things that you can experiment with. I'm keen to update you with about a 6-month progress update, or anytime something exciting happens. So if you are keen to see updates on this, please hit subscribe and hang around for that. Huge thanks to Aquascape Australia for providing the mini pond kit and light to me for the purpose of this video, and yeah, really appreciate the support. So give them a like on Instagram or Facebook and follow along with the cool projects that they're doing as well. Thanks for watching, appreciate you all, and I'll catch you on the next one.